Ah, we are live. Oh my goodness. All right. Friends.
Bomb.
I know, it's very exciting.
Hi,
Friends and
everybody.
yeah, so friends and family and all the likes. Um, we are talking today about the 2002 film Count of Monte Cristo, which is based off of a book. For those who may or may not have known.
Mhm.
But yeah, we are talking about the Count of Monte Cristo.
Not
Um,
just a sandwich, folks.
it's
No,
not
I'm
just
just
this
joking.
is true.
Sorry,
Although,
I had to at least have one joke in there, man. I had to. I had to. My bad. I apologize.
well, I think it's very important. I mean, yeah. If you don't, yeah.
Yeah,
The Monte Cristos are really good too.
they are. Don't get me wrong. They're very
Mm.
sweet, but that's the appeal.
Oh,
I
they're
enjoy it.
just so good. Mon-
Cheddar's actually has a decent Monte Cristo. Just we're not sponsored, but I am giving a shameless plug. It's delicious.
But if Cheddar's would like to sponsor us, I will gladly like take that and eat Monte Cristos all day long.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Hey, and I will even eat Monte Cristos from Cheddar's with sponsorship to watch the 2024 remake or reboot or whatever that was, because Josh and I were just talking about it. And, it barely, like, it made a blip with us. So obviously it was good, but maybe it's a diamond in the rough. Maybe we'll have to explore. But, anyways, the 2002 version.
2002. So, as is tradition, I'm going to kick this off by handing the torch over to Mr. Travis to do the deep dive into the Count of Monte Cristo.
Really?
Well, yeah. I
Really,
mean,
you know what? I think, I really wish I would have pulled an actual prop for this. I
oh,
think I think this is my one time to pull a Uno reverse card on you.
ah!
Okay. I'm going to or for my Magic the Gathering folks, I'm gonna counterspell that. Okay.
Yeah.
And and I'm gonna double tap now, folks. If I don't know if we've said it live here or not, but Josh and I have obviously talked about this, not actually dove into this movie, but
Yeah.
talked about it and hey, we should do it. Yeah. Guys, I have a secret. Shh.
Hey, he does have a secret.
This is Josh's favorite movie of all time. Okay? So
It is.
Josh's favorite movie of all time. Now I appreciate the send off or but I think with that kind of accolade, Josh, I
Yes.
think this is the one where you have to take the reins and the wheel on this one.
Fair. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Okay. I
yeah,
won't argue that. Okay. So,
yeah.
yes, this is true. A lot of people assume that Star Wars is my favorite movie or Star Trek or some other science fiction type genre. No, 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 no. The Count of Monte Cristo, this movie in particular, is my favorite movie of all time. I love the book. The book is
Mhm.
probably one of my favorite books of all time. It's kind of right up there with
Great
Tolkien.
book. Yeah.
The book is fantastic. Now, the movie does follow the book, but not exact as the book plays out, which I enjoy. They took some slight creative liberties with it, but the story is there. It's really really good. Okay, so we'll just say the elephant in the room. Why is this my favorite film? This film, I love the story, but they tell the story in three different ways. The way that they use the camera to tell the story the camera is like the third actor. So they don't the cinematography of this is absolutely just hands down just brilliant. But what they did, what the director did, and he when he worked with his cinematographers, is it wasn't just we're going to shoot this like okay we have okay actor A, actor B, okay, line up, okay, we're going to do over the shots, and then we'll edit it, and then there you go.
Yeah.
They really took their time, and the camera actually became part of the story. It's incredible. So here's a really prime example.
Sure.
You have at the ending scene where you have Dantes who is finally confronting uh, his main foe, and they're in this the old wasteland, the burned down building,
Right.
and his foe, right, there's this whole thing. He rides off into this field, and the camera pans around him, and the camera shows the field, and it's barren. It's just empty. And then it shows the actor's face, and then it shows the field, and it's this back and forth, and it's this beautiful, beautiful symbolism that he's lost everything. There's nothing for him anymore in the future. There's nothing for him down the road.
It's all behind him now.
It is, and the way that they shoot, and the way that they shoot the film, and it's not just that one scene, but it's throughout the entire film. The way that they shoot it is absolutely fantastic. So the camera is telling the story along with the actors of everything. So I love that part. I love the redemption arc of the story. So you have the very beginning part of the film where you have this basically go-lucky kid who's a bit of a derp.
Yeah.
Right. He's a bit of a derp. He's just, his head's in the clouds, and
everything is gumdrops and roses.
But it's awesome because you look at this, and it's set in that I can't remember the year that it's set in, but it's still, and actually it's a metaphor for today's world, really. So they had a very big class system, right? Counts, dukes, and then they had the peasants, if you will, the meaning low people.
And then merchants, and then
merchants, right, right, and then you have Dantes, who is just, he doesn't care that he has to spend all this time to become captain to be able to afford a ring and then afford a wife, and this is just the way he's very happy, and his soon to be bride is very content on waiting 2, 3, 4 years down the road for him to get his captain's papers, and he's content. He is very content with how he lives. And then you have the Count, or the son of the Count, who is not content. He has everything.
Yeah.
He has
and not happy with anything.
Yeah. Correct. He's just anything he could possibly want. Food, clothing, status, job, whatever.
Yep. Not to completely but I just want to pinpoint on this one, the whistle and the pony.
Yes.
I don't want to be one of your whistles, and I just think that was just one of the really great fine points in that. I mean, I have more things about that scene and about that lack of character anyways, but anyways, you were saying, so.
Yeah, so so you have Edmund and you have Fernard, the Count. And Guy Pearce played a fantastic villain. Oh my gosh.
Oh, 100%.
What a fantastic. The whole cast was just so well done.
He's here somewhere. Yeah. Well, anyways.
Yeah. But you have this arc, and then you have the ultimate tragedy of being destroyed by someone who you consider to be a friend, a close friend. And and for me personally, it hits home because in my previous life, back in my very early 20s, that happened to me. I got betrayed and backstabbed by people that I considered very, very close to me, and very, very close, that I broke bread with, and I called them friends, and then they did very unspeakable, horrible things to me, and it took me a while to kind of come back to, like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. Now I didn't get put into the Chateau d'If, so yeah.
But I mean, and especially in that kind of thing, not to again say what, but it can be your own personal hell though, and that's, and especially if it's those wounds cut deep, if they were, especially they meant or they meant so much, and yeah, man, that sucks, and I'm sorry, but hey, you know what?
Well, yeah,
one of my favorite things.
So that arc, right? It goes very low, and then the director, normally with a lot of films, when it does this, right, when you have kind of the second act of the film, which it gets a little darker, a little lower sometimes.
Hmm.
It's there's a lot of tendency to gloss over that, and they don't. This film, they really do not gloss over it. There are some plot holes for sure, but
Sure.
they keep you there, and they keep you in that moment
Yep.
where you're feeling and 15 years. Like this just isn't like, oh, okay, now he's in the Shadow Deep. Oh, and okay, now he broke out. Ta-da!
Right.
I mean, this
No,
was
the good chunk of the movie is in jail.
right.
You know.
And
Yeah.
this is where he starts to find himself as a person, which I love. I absolutely. It's
Yeah.
the metaphor. The whole metaphors for this film, and this is why this is my number one film of all time, and I don't ever see it changing, honestly, unless there's, I mean, anything's possible, but
Sure. Sure. The
the
next Avatar movie is just going to dethrone this. I'm just saying.
well, I'd have to see the first one first, so
Oh snap!
this is a true statement. I haven't even watched one of them, but anyway,
Okay. Anyways,
no, it's
internet. We'll get him later.
so Edmund finds himself in the midst of betrayal, in the midst of this personal hell that he's going through, getting beaten, starved to death. Uh, isolation is horrid. I mean,
Yeah.
it really will do a job on you. I mean, they're discovering now with inmates that, okay, locking them up for 23 hours a day is probably not a good thing, where they have no contact with human beings, and then they get like 1 hour a day. So
Yeah. Well, that's why he has.
he,
I don't remember the exact number, but 74,890
exactly.
stones
And have
in
you
his tomb.
named
Yeah.
them yet?
And then
And
that
he
blew his mind. I
oh
love that.
yeah,
That's one of the parts that I'm just kind of like, I blah blah blah. And this is coming from a guy that went from God is in everything. God is in everything
yeah,
to trying to I don't know what we can say on that anymore. So I'll use a safe term. Self unalive with his own like scrap of cloth that he's trying to
sure,
lift up by himself. That there's nothing for him to put, but he's just trying to just get that release, and he can't. And then he goes, and then I don't know, like the thing that I would have liked to have seen just a little bit, and not to be too morbid of the subject. I wanted to see a little bit more right after that. They kind of cut, and it's kind of like a montage kind of sequence that it's part of. But it just kind of, because like that next day must have been horrible. Or what about like, or like, when did he try that? Was it after one of the anniversaries? After one of his holiday beatings? Like, because that would have been probably a pretty low time. But no, I completely agree. He goes through this transformation in there.
he
But
does. And the other thing what I absolutely love about it is he becomes very set now. So everybody has heard the story, like, okay, if you want to do revenge, plan on basically having two graves, one for the person you're seeking revenge against, and one for you, right? Because revenge doesn't really lead to anything good.
right.
And I understand. Yeah, I understand. Like, this is still a story. This isn't real life, right? And the author can do what he wants to do with the
Sure.
story. I love the fact that even through his quest for vengeance, and boy, did there's some brutal things happen. That was just absolutely beautiful. He finds himself stopping, and he's still a little lost. And then his future bride comes back into his life and brings him back to reality. There's this iconic scene where she said, "You said the name Dantes," and he was like, "Well, you ran off with the very man that betrayed me and all this other stuff." and he's just enraged. I mean, the full rage, and rightfully so. And she holds up her finger with the ring of string,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes, "It has never left my finger." And it's just such a beautiful scene.
Yep.
And like I said, I mean, the camera angle, just everything. So this is why the story of the Count of Monte Cristo is very, very deep. Like if you read this book, and if you, especially this movie, if you read the book and you watch this film, the story is incredibly layered and very deep. I have watched this thing probably, I don't know, 300 times. Um, yeah, it's insane. I've watched this more than I've watched Star Wars. Um, this, if Star Wars ever does a film where it's got a storyline like this, where it's just layer upon layer upon layer, oh my gosh, that would be epic. I doubt they would ever do that, Disney. But anyway, this film, this is why this film is, and at the end, he comes back to God. Like, for those who are not religious, that's okay. But he comes back to God and he says, "All right, everything that was used for vengeance is going to be used for good. Everything, and he's got his family, his son, his wife. He bought the Shadow Deef to destroy it, but he's going
Mm-hmm.
to leave it there as something to remember. And I love that symbolism because it's a lot of people like. Okay, so for me, I went through. We won't get into all of it on the internet, but I
No.
went through some very dark times in my early 20s into my 30s. Um, some of that was choices of my actions. Some of it was choices not of my actions, but it was a very rough time for myself. And then I met the lovely bride of my life, and Debbie and I. It was rough. And then just recently, this past year, another wonderful, rough, challenging storm came into our lives. But I love the symbolism that it's you can't just remove your past. It's there. It's always going to be there. What do you do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And I just, the way that the film just speaks to me, and the story. So I've rambled now for about 20 minutes. Uh this is why this film, for me, the sword fight, the towards the end, the duel is awesome. I love. I mean, there's some humor sprinkled in this thing, but this film, this is why this is my number one film over everything. It trumps Lord of the Rings. It trumps Star Wars. It trumps Star Trek. It trumps the Transformers films. This film is truly, Jim Caviezel is an amazing actor to begin with, but the cast, everything. Okay, there you go.
They're
Score
okay. All
track.
right.
Um, I
No, that's. I asked for it. We all wanted it, and we got it. No, pardon. But so, and that's what I kind of wanted to, because that's what I wanted to kind of start with, because that is quite an accolade to be able to say that this is my favorite movie. And guys, ever since he told me that last week, I kid you not, the thing that's been going through my head is, well, Travis, what's your favorite movie? You've seen so many. Well, and I'm like, and
well,
the closest that I got to, the closest right there is, what genre? I can't, because like,
ah,
how can I say my favorite action movie trumps my favorite comedy, or my favorite love story trumps a horror story? Because you can't contrast, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, this movie, with the exception of a really big monster or some type of this movie does have a lot, and it is very, very entertaining. In fact, it was one of those that when Josh brought it up, I was just like, it was like a nostalgic, like, core memory unlocked. Because as soon as I saw, I'm like, yeah, no, I remember, yeah, vaguely. And then I saw the movie poster, and then I'm like, oh, that one. And that's what kind of hit. I, especially as a tabletop player, dungeon master to storyteller, I absolutely love this story. And you know what? You are right. There are some plot holes. Um, and they try to kind of shy away from it a little bit. And I understand that there is plot armor and such. But one of my big ones, I just want to kind of throw it out there, is we're in the days that, like, we're well before, the times where we could, like the Dillinger and Babyface, and just to where, as long as you weren't at the place where you did the crime, you weren't going to get caught. Here, it's freaking even more open than that. And so the priest gets caught. He hides. First off, he's able to make many multiple trips to this secluded island, into this secluded area where all these chests are. And he doesn't just disappear. Well, of course not, Travis, because it wasn't in the script. And I get that, okay? But I don't know. It was just one of those that's one of my biggest ones right there. And just a little history on this, just to give it a little sprinkle too, because I read the book first, but not the actual. Well, I read both books, and by both books I mean my dad. Thanks, Dad, by the way. Bought me back in the days of his. They still do big box stores, but he bought me the Great Illustrated Classics or whatever, and one of them was the Count of Monte Cristo. And I would love to say that this got me into swashbuckling and sword fighting, and I even did just a stout in fencing, and that was real fun. And the story is just a fantastic story. It has betrayal, it has despair, because how can we judge the good times if we don't have the lows and the bads? And this movie takes you on a roller coaster, and it's fantastic. There are a little, I would say, plot armor things here and there that kind of resonate a little bit, but hey, you have to move the story along to a degree, and in my opinion, they weren't egregious. I am a firm agreement with you that the camera does play pretty much as the third character or such of the scene.
Oh yeah,
The cinematography alone, you bring up the last scene with the field and Fernand, or however correctly Fernand,
yeah.
and it was that shot that when he looks back, I was just like, as I'm watching this again, because it's been some years since I've watched this, I'll admit. I'm like, man, if he looks back, that's it. And then he does. And then he writes back. And I'm like, okay. Now, the one thing that I do like about this was they kind of instituted a little bit more. Yes, this is a fantasy story to a degree, yes. But they instituted something that I thought was where they could have added easily enough Hollywood magic. We're fighting in this field that's overgrown grass that only has a couple of rut trails. Otherwise, overgrown grass, burnt out built or abandoned building. We've dropped our blades. You can't see them unless you remember where they dropped. And they didn't have an extra magazine. They had to actually they actually had to go find their freaking swords. And that's one thing I like, is just the fact that I'm looking at this and I'm playing it as a DM in my head. They're doing an investigation check real quick, but it's at disadvantage because they're a thing. And then they can't find they don't roll well enough and they can't find the sword, but they find a rock. It was well. I would like to know, Josh, if you can, real quick, try to put yourself back in your shoes of the first time watching this, or at least you didn't know what was going to happen next. You didn't know what was going to be said. You didn't know how you were going to feel in that next scene. Up until Mercedes and him have that confrontation, did you have any inkling, any little thing to where like there's more here than, I mean, obviously then she monologues and then we find out that, hey, Albert is or Albert is his
Albert.
son, and you know, and just this, that, and the third. It's just, did you have any inkling on that at all? Did you was there anything for you on that, or up until the review? Like, honestly, I just going from
Yeah.
there, you know.
Yeah, no, so that's one of the things that I'm cursed with is it- I can kind of figure out plot
Yeah,
points throughout a film pretty quickly. And to be fair, Hollywood does pretty much use the same thing almost every film. I mean,
sure,
it's like
yeah, right,
um I so I already kind of knew where they were like where the story was going with this.
right. Well,
So
obviously with the book too, but
yes, so that it really didn't that 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 really didn't jump out at me
resonate.
so
Gotcha.
much. But the way that it was done, and again, it's so I liken this to what Peter Jackson did with Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Everybody who is a super nerd has read the Tolkien books at least once in their life. Most Tolkien fans have read that thing. I mean, I've got friends that read it religiously every year.
Mhm.
They read, from the Fellowship of the Ring all the way through, right? Every year they read it, and there's forums and there are discussions. And you still had your super Tolkien fans who got very upset that Peter Jackson moved certain things around and so on and so forth. But you know what? Jackson took the essence of what Tolkien wrote and he captured it flawlessly. And we're not talking about The Hobbit. We're just talking about the Lord of the Rings
Yeah,
trilogy.
sure, sure.
He captured that just beautiful. He captured what the essence of what Tolkien was writing about. He captured all of the major pinpoints, major scenes, and he did it beautifully.
Hmm.
And that's what they did with the Count of Monte Cristo 2002. Is they took the story, they took the book, and uh, and they captured it in such a beautiful way. The way that Mercedes announces that Fernand is not uh, Fernand is not the father of Albert.
Hmm.
Albert. He picks up this pot and throws it against this glass. And what does the camera do? The camera follows it, and it ever so slightly that now becomes the center of the frame where the glass has now been shattered. And it just it talks like they use that to show that he's losing everything.
Hmm.
The family is gone. What he thought was his family, gone. Um, it's just I don't. It is so hard to explain all of the layers that they did, um, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Um, I think a lot of this was intentional. I don't. Being a director and being into film, and you make a lot of the little happy accidents, right?
Sure.
You have happy accidents and happy trees and clouds, and you're
Right.
just like, ooh, that was kind of cool how we did that. I think I would say 89% of what was shot in this film was very deliberate, very much planned, and the way that how they shot it. It was This was not an accident. I think the director and the cinematographer knew what the heck they were doing.
Hmm.
And again, to your other point earlier, Travis, we were talking about, well, to answer your question, what is
Yeah.
your favorite film? And you kind of were like, well, what's my favorite in what genre?
Hmm.
I wrestled with that for a while, but you know what? I don't. For me, like, okay, so if I have to say what is my favorite genre of film is science fiction.
Mhm.
I would say science fiction is probably my favorite genre of all time. Uh,
Yeah.
Fantasy is a very close second. The two are very, very close to each other. Um, Horror films are kind of on the very, very bottom. The best horror film I have ever watched that I actually enjoyed and I got engrossed and into it was the very first Saw, because it screwed with your brain. Like it
Mhm.
just was like, oh my goodness, like it's just the story itself. So
Mhm.
that's what grabbed me. So I would encourage you, Travis. Um, the Count of Monte Cristo is not a fantasy film, but it kind of is, because you you have some swashbuckling. You've got to kind of have that lore. It's not a period piece, meaning it's
Right.
not in our current, right. So I mean it's technically a period piece set in the French Revolutionary War type
Mhm.
world. So it's kind of there.
I
It's
mean, when we have
subversive.
historical figures like Napoleon and,
Sure, right.
sure, yeah.
But you also have you have some fantasy built into it uh with the lore of the crystal of the Monte Cristo treasure,
Right.
right. I don't know. I've never researched this, but I don't think the Shadow Deep was actually a real prison. I think that's made up. But anyway, um this film, I don't know what it is. Well, I do know what it is. I've already outlined. I've spent a
Hmm.
good portion of our conversation on it. This film speaks to me on so many different levels. Uh, I think the story is it's just fantastic.
Hmm.
Of course, the cinematography is beautiful. They this If there is CGI in this film, um, I don't know what it was, because you can't tell.
Yeah, I think it's all natural shots and whatnot. The one thing that, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I realize that Edmund, especially in the beginning part, pre Chateau d'If, is just head, like you said, head in the clouds. He's naive, etc. But the thing that bugs me, I guess, kind of on that is, and it's, I hate to use the trope. It's kind of one of those uh, tropes of just ongoing of all time, no matter what generation, and that's, we have the kind of rich, well-to-do guy that's not happy with anything, and sees his buddy happy and not wanting what he has. And the thing that I just really bugged me is, pardon me, I never have. Bet you the one thing that Edmond had done to piss Fernand off was accepting that meeting with Napoleon. Like literally, I can't imagine him doing anything else other than just being a tried and true friend to Fernand. And Fernand, like literally at the slightest ingression, is just like, my longtime friend, F this guy now and whatever. And I've been wanting to do his lady friend for a long time, but she won't give me a time of day. And I can understand she's not wanting to split up, especially since they were on the same ship together. But you kind of all, and I understand period and whatnot, and that was, but maybe, hey, sweetie, your best friend has been trying to get me to do him behind your back, so that's kind of maybe something that you might want to adjust. There's honor and there's just a few of those things that just kind of, and I understand that builds the story from there, but it was one of those that just always kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Well,
You know?
and so let me kind of go back to this.
Yeah,
So there, for those who have read the book, uh, Travis, have you read this book?
it has been decades.
Okay,
Like I said, I would say the original, well, the like I said, the illustrated classic was 12 or before, and then teen or pre-teens, teens was the original.
okay.
So,
Um,
so yes, unfortunately, it has been a good long minute. I need to sit down and read more. I have so
so,
many movies.
oh, oh,
They ruined the book.
oh dear. Okay. So
Okay, all right.
well, let me and like I said at the very beginning of this, they did take a lot of liberties.
Sure.
They truly did. And I've read both. I've read the book and I've seen this movie. So real quick, in the book, Edmund and Fernand are not childhood friends. They're
Okay.
they're, they're not childhood friends at all. And Albert is not actually Edmund's son in the book, where he becomes that in the film. But it wasn't too hard to bridge the gap there.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
she,
So I've obviously forgotten big portions. Okay. Yeah.
that's okay. Mercedes, she doesn't marry Fernand in the book. The revenge plot is heavily modified, and the climax it does differ pretty significantly. And then of course they cut out certain characters. They cut out Maximilian. They cut out Franz. They cut out Haydée. They those characters were not, that were in the book, were not in this film.
Okay.
With that said, and this is why I always get back to this. They truly did capture the essence of the Count of Monte Cristo. They did take some creative liberties. They moved some pieces around. One is because it's film, right? And the prime example is Stephen King. You read a Stephen King book, okay, and then you go watch that book get turned into film. 9 times out of 10, there are some exceptions to the rule, the Shawshank Redemption, but that is an exception to the rule. You watch most of Stephen King's books getting turned into film, the films never do his books justice, ever.
That's because we didn't have the technology. Okay. Like first off, we're gonna have to do some Stephen King eventually. I'm just
That's fine. Okay, the Dark Towers.
But no, I'm not even going that. I'm going 90s melodrama for you. Let's talk what originally scarred me when I was a little kid, and that was the great man himself, Tim Curry. And the man did it without special effects. Okay, yes. He did it with practical effects and makeup, and he scarred a generation. Okay, that man is utter genius. But the one that I remember that stood out horrifically, and I mean egregiously, like I can't believe that this was not sacked or been like, in recent times. I can't believe it wasn't like the first Sonic the Hedgehog, where it just, you should have leaked something and been like, oh my God, that's the monster. Stop. The Langoliers. The Langoliers was, in my opinion, the worst Stephen King film adaptation probably to date.
Needful Things is up there. Oh,
okay. I didn't even really put that in my. The Tommy Knockers was a little overact. Yeah. But I liked the Green Glow. That was fun. No, but yeah, there's. But there are ways and adaptations can mess it up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But I will say this, yes, they took a lot of liberties from the actual how the book is, but I'm glad that they did, because and again, they took this story, made it unique without making it unique.
Sure.
Right? What is the essence of the Count of Monte Cristo? Right? And they took that and they did put their their own creative spin on it, but they did a fantastic job. This film stands alone. I mean, it really does, and it has stood the test of time. You can still see it on pretty much every streaming platform. It came out in 2002. So what is that? That's 24 years. It still looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
It is an absolutely gorgeous film to see. The acting has stood up to the test of time. I say this, right? Go watch one of my favorite films growing up as a kid was The Last Starfighter. Okay. Love that film.
All right, yeah.
As a kid. It was just such a cool, fun-filled film. And I watched it the other day, and I was like, yeesh. Obviously the CGI did not hold up to the test of time. And that's fine. I mean, it did come out in the 80s, and most Most of those films aren't. But even the acting, I was just like,
Right. Mm-hmm.
This
Hey.
film, Guy Pearce, Jim Caviezel, they, Richard. I mean, come on, they had Richard Harrison.
Henry Cavill, for God's sakes.
But,
I don't know if it's for but Henry Cavill.
It's his first film.
Oh, it is? Okay, yeah, then the
Yeah.
debuting of Henry. Ladies, Henry Cavill. Yeah.
But it's just like I've said. I've said this 100 times or so now.
Yeah.
It just speaks to me at such a level. It's a deep level. This is why, like, okay, so May 8th, right? Mortal Kombat 2 is coming out. I'm going to go watch it. That story is going to be dumb. It just is. I'm going to watch it for. I mean, come on. I mean, it's a video game. So
the boy and I were most likely going to go see Mortal Kombat and He-Man in the theaters.
Heck yeah. I'm going to go watch He-Man 2 in the theaters. Heck yeah. But there's the amount, the depth level of the story, the intricacy of the characters, how the camera is also telling the story. That's not going to be in Mortal Kombat. It's not going to be in He-Man.
Right.
I will say, as much as this pains me, I will say that Titanic tried to do this. They tried. Where the camera was also was trying to be a third actor. They took a legitimate thing that happened and tried to build a story out of it with two characters that never existed in the world, and I get that.
I'm sorry, but ever since I think it was Robot Chicken or something, but it was one of those, hey kids, want to hear about the weekend where grandma was a whore? Like, it just was one of those, like, ever since then, it just was one of those. Just kind of, I'm like, oh, Robot Chicken.
Robot Chicken is some good. Robot Chicken is some good stuff. Anyway, go ahead. I rambled.
Yeah, no worries. No, not rambling at all. You're talking and sharing to us about one of your favorite movie, Josh.
This is something, man. This film is my beloved. It really is.
I figured I was gonna be the little add-on today. You know, it was one of those that will let you rant and I'll try to bring you back. But okay, so it wasn't his first movie.
I stand corrected.
No, a different actor.
Oh,
nope, different actor.
Okay.
But he added his, and I apologize if I mispronounce it, folks, but Luz Guzman. He plays the Jacob. He plays the guy that he was going to when he first gets off of Chateau d'If. He's in the knife fight that he spares the guy's life. And he's just like,
the comedian. Yes.
Yeah. And he's like, I am your man now. And it's just, and from there on, he's the devoted, not only servant, but he's the friend that Dantes should have, a hat. I mean, well, again, this is what the movie takes liberty with, but I just really enjoyed that. And the fact that if you look at that arc of their friendship, ever since the first time they get their money and they're free of the merchant ship or whatever, a pirate or the smugglers, pardon me. Excuse me. And they have their money, and it's a significant amount to where they can at least with one person, they can go buy a boat, and just, it's from that point on, he just tells them, hey, even before the treasure, you basically kind of have your life now. Go live it. No, we're going to do this. Oh my God, now you're rich beyond your wildest dreams. You can literally, whatever your cares were are just gone now. What are you going to do? Revenge. But why? And it's just all throughout. He gives them the out. He gives them the chance. He gives them but you can walk away. And then at the end, he has literally almost everything. He has theoretically his woman, his son, and he's still centered in on it. And it's at that point when Fernand comes back, when he is finally now the man that has lost everything and has nothing left to lose. And I'm sorry, I can't remember, and I'm going to mispronounce it, but Louis' characters then tells him, you have to finish it now. It has to be done. And that's when his resolve comes through. And it's just, it was one of those that I rewound it. And yes, I know that's a thing, a dated term, but I had to watch that a couple of different times. And I'm like, I can see why Josh really, really likes this movie. I really do. Like, I can't find. Yes, it was, Jim. Good job. Thank you for bringing that back. It was a real historic fortress and former prison built between 1527 and 1529 as a defense structure.
I do stand corrected.
But-
I didn't think it was a real prison.
Yeah.
And I didn't go Google it. I was just like,
Yeah, no worries. Well, and it very well could have been, you know. I mean, but I can't find. Like, I have no notes on this film, Josh. The cinematography, I can't talk today. Apologies. Was great. They lined up their shots. They just did things like you said. The camera, the angles became their own character in person. The music was great. I watched it on phone, tablet, and headset. And I enjoyed it's obviously going to be better on headset and earbuds and stuff like that than just on speakers. But, you know, there was no overacting. There wasn't any, I'm sorry. Like, the only thing that I can probably say is Danglers or Dongler or the first mate guy that did the betraying. And what was his name?
Oh God!
Hold on here. I'm gonna find it. I'll find it.
Please do, because I don't really Google it really quick. I don't remember
Danglars.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, it's one of those, and I know these guys are sailors, seafaring folk, but still, you'll look at the guy and you're like, he's a trustworthy first mate. He's definitely not gonna stab me in the back or anything like that. You know, it's just like he looked like the you know who he reminds me of, and I'll have to look up to see if it's the same actor. He reminds me of the guy in Men in Black when they're introduced to the dog. And it's that like the pale guy and just like the lurch looking dude. Like, how can you guys have that as a first mate? You know? And then not only that, I would like to think, well, Molar or the who was the original boss? Crap, I can't find his name right now. Morel, I think it was Morel, if I remember but he didn't really help Edmond at all. Like, okay, don't get me wrong, he did. It's not. Hey, you're going to be captain now. Fantastic. And then the first mate's like, you demote me.
There's no demotion.
Yeah. At that part, you're just kind of like, you know what? I'm going to reassign you over here because you're either going to try to kill the new captain or do a mutiny, or, you know, like that's one of the things that kind of bugged me too. And like, he was trying to make a point. I'm the boss, and you can either find you somewhere else to play birth, or, you know, blah blah blah. But that wasn't enough, obviously, because one drunken afternoon it makes everything go to hell. You know. I enjoyed it. The one so these guys are noble, right? And I would have to watch the scene again. If anybody knows in chat, correct me, or Josh, anyone that knows this, please speak up. When they're doing not the final fight, the inside the building fight before Albert comes over, right? And they're fighting. And I know the swords change hands, but at the end result, it's Edmund with the sword against Fernand, and then Albert comes over.
Mm-hmm.
arguably, we're all speaking nobles at this point, right? So they should have decent weaponry. But Albert comes over and with one, he slices the freaking sword in half. I'm sorry, man, but like that, no, Hollywood, like I just no, disarm, sure, maybe even like a little flick on the hand, wrist, or whatever. But the fact that he sliced the sword in half and it wasn't like a sword breaker or something that would attest to that, kind of bugged me a little bit.
I do love the
I'm nitpicking there. I'm nitpicking.
no.
So
I think that I do love at the very beginning of the film where Dantes is fighting Fernand and is obviously outmatched. He
oh
cannot.
yeah,
I mean, it's night and day.
right.
And then at the very end, he meets Edmund. He meets Fernand again, and it is quick. It's like it's over in a matter of a. You blink your eye, boom, and Fernand, like the look on his face, and he's like, "Oh, somebody taught you the sword."
Uh-huh.
And he, and he's, and it's just this. It's this build. He gets there. He assumes that all of this money has been set aside for him. He's going to be fine. He'll just disappear right off in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're all open. All the chests are empty,
Mm-hmm.
and he keeps going and going and going. He has to waste his shot to unlock a chest, and it's the king.
Yep.
And it's a message, and he just the way that they wrote this film and the way that they again, it's just beautiful. And he starts to like you can tell that like Guy Pearce did a fantastic job with this role.
Mm-hmm.
He puts it together piece by piece in his brain, and the look on the actor's face, and then when Edmund shows up, and he just stands up and he says, "Oh, Monte Cristo, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "I've arranged this with pleasure." It's just
The
it's
fact that he comes out and he's shaved and he's all
yes,
just kind of like, and I would have loved to see the outtakes of that scene because there's at least one of where he goes, "What's up, bitch?" or something like that. Like there's something like I don't get me wrong. I understand that these are acclaimed actors and actresses, but come on, man. There's got to be some times where you just have to have a little bit of fun with the scene. And you know what? We're gonna get the laughs out real quick. We're gonna take a little laugh for a track, and then we'll do the for real. I would like to believe that there's at least a couple of those instances in this film because that would have been funny. I really do, especially like
yeah.
in the
So
prison. So
we've got about 8 minutes left.
Mhm.
As is tradition, unless he hits me with another Uno card, I am going to give Travis the last word on the Count of Monte Cristo. Mr. Travis, the floor is yours, sir.
I actually have another. It's draw four, Josh. No, so I would like to share the spotlight though, because first things first, this is not, as of right now, my favorite movie. Is it up there in my list of favorite movies? Yes. Am I a little bit of a Ted Mosby when it comes to movies? Sometimes. Yes. Okay. But or I guess technically it's a Marshall, or whatever the case is. Sometimes I give my movie accolades a little too freely. But that's because I find something endearing or something that I like about it. I can usually take a bad movie and say, yeah, but this is bad movie, right? But there's these good points. Or it's such a bad movie. It's good because of X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
Everybody who has either lived through 2002 or has not been able to watch movies over PG-13 or such since 2002, I will say this. It is a solid movie. You will be entertained. You don't have to be a fantasy nerd. You don't have to be a Star Wars geek. You don't have to, think that The Princess Bride is the best movie of all time. It's up there though. But it's one of those that it's a solid movie. I think that it does stand to the test of time, like Josh says. It's I can watch this in the next 10 years and I'll still like the cinematography. I'll still like the acting. I don't think that the music or anything will let the movie down. When I tell you guys, everybody out there in internet YouTube land, I have no notes on this one. Well, not no notes, and so, but I have very little notes. It's anything that I feel like I have, like, hey, they could have done this a little bit better, or they could have done this. I feel like I'm nitpicking, like the sword breaking scene, for instance. I'm just saying that because kind of a fantasy nerd, and I don't I'm not a blacksmith myself, but again, I find that scene a little hard to swallow. That being said, solid movie all around. Um, and it's one of those that I will say that my general thing with movies is always try to watch it in one sitting. That's what the director, that's what the storytellers want you to do. Because if you come back to it, you're going to come back to it in a different mindset. You've now have let whatever has affected you since you've stopped the movie to affect you since you started the movie. This movie's long, but it is worth it. It is so worth it. And much like he mentioned the movie before, and maybe we'll do an episode on it, much like the Shawshank Redemption, you celebrate with the character when there's time to celebrate. You cry with the character when it's time, and you feel for him at every gut-wrenching moment that he has in there. And you just hope that he has hope to continue on, even if it's for revenge, because you have to see him get some type of closure. And with that, Josh.
No, it's very well said. No, I like it. All right. So on that note, we are going to bid you all adieu. I hope you have a fantastic week this week. Whatever it is that you do for all of our friends out there in internet land, whatever it is you do for a job or a career, or whether you're going to school, I just really hope that you guys have a fantastic week. Say hi to your loved ones and hold them close. And yeah, we will see you next week. Now, real quick before we end this, we are getting close to the beautifulness that is Fan Expo Comic Con.
Right.
And that's in just a couple of weeks. So the weekend of that, obviously, we're not going to, I'm not going to be here. I mean, I guess Travis could talk to himself if he would like. And that would be pretty fun.
Well, Travis, what do you think about that? Well, you see, Travis, there's.
I'm going to try to get a lot of footage for everybody, and then we'll probably spend a good portion talking about Comic Cons.
Awesome.
And if we play our dice right, we might be able to get a general manager in here that will shed some light on things. Anyway, Travis, you were saying.
Yep. So real quick, just we weren't able to speak about it before, but my work was like, hey, you want some hours? I'm like, yes, please. I like money. And so unfortunately, we might have to go a little bit later if we want to do this next Sunday, but we can talk logistics on it and see when you're free and how late's too late, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But as far as let's see, there was that. Oh, shameless plugs. Yes, I just wanted to say this. So, guys, hi, for neighborhood friendly Travis. We've been spending a little bit of time together, and I've been enjoying it. But Josh and I, we don't advertise. We don't anything at all. So anytime you see us on YouTube, it's literally just because you've clicked on it, you've engaged it, and we thank you for that. But hey, if you'd like, if you could, maybe if you know people that would maybe enjoy our little segments, our little manic rants and stuff, feel free to spread the word. We would greatly appreciate that. And hey, Josh's YouTube thing could always use more subscriptions there too, because he puts out really great shorts, and you can see the evolution of his movie making. Again, shameless plug, but I'm done now.
On that note, everybody have a great week. Bye.
Take care, guys. Peace.